gonna rattle off a bunch of metaphors here, similes, whatever, and my editor's gonna pick the best ones. Okay. You are like a volcano that's the magma is just under the surface, but it's just not getting a chance to burst. You are like a cow who has not been milked in a long time. No, I didn't even like that as it was coming out of my mouth. You are like a cannon, but you're not lighting it. You're not lighting the fuse so the cannonball can go. You are like a meteor. Okay, I don't have an ending for that one. You are a wonderful, creative, imaginative person who has a beautiful voice, but you are doing things that are sabotaging yourself, your creativity, and your artistic output. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the 7 things you're probably doing that are sabotaging your creative output. If you're already completely happy with what you're doing, and feel like you couldn't possibly be doing anything else, then this video is not for you. This is for people who feel like they are creating, or they feel blocked, or you're doing stuff but it just doesn't quite feel like you're doing what you want. You still feel that bit of emptiness. Today's video is all about the ways that you are probably holding yourself back from reaching your full creative, artistic potential. Hi, I'm Riley Smith with MakeGood Creative Network, and these are the 7 ways you are sabotaging your own creativity. Now I'm gonna look at what they are. Thing number 1. This is the simplest one. This is the one you gotta do before you do anything else. Sleep, eat, drink water, repeat. If you are not doing these things for yourself, if you are not getting enough rest, if you are not drinking enough water, then you are not going to be at your full potential in anything. You're not going to be able to relate to people as easily as you otherwise might. You're not going to be able to bring your voice out into the world in the way that you really could. Make sure that you are getting enough to eat and eating well. That means different things for different people. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not going to impose any of those ideas on you, but eating well, paying attention to how you're fueling yourself, and getting enough rest. You can't do 4 hours of sleep every night and expect your brain to be operating at full capacity. It's just not reasonable to ask of your poor brain. And as for water, I got this cute little thing. It says, "Oh, for Fox's sake, drink your effing water." It's got little, because I'm really bad about remembering to take care of myself and like basic needs. It reminds me at different times when to drink it. Just fill them up twice a day. That's all the water you need in your day. You might find that you actually need a little bit more, a little bit less, but this is pretty much the human average, and it's worked pretty well for me. So these are helpful if you find you're not staying hydrated. If you're like, I'm probably hydrated, just give it a try. Drink a little more water. See what happens. You might find things open up for you a little bit more. The next way that you are sabotaging creativity is the lone wolf thing. You cannot make something out of nothing. The universe does not work like that. You cannot just sit alone in a vacuum and expect brilliance to pop out of the top of your head. That's not how humans work. It's not how the greats worked. Let's take Ernest Hemingway. All right, he would go and sit in a cafe and talk to his friends, and his artist friends would walk by and people would come and tell him stories and he would party. Like the alcoholism, yeah, that's a no-go. Let's try to work on that, get rid of that. But being around other people was completely necessary. The socialization of him sitting in a cafe and working on his work around people and talking about work with people was completely necessary for him. Same with F. Scott Fitzgerald, who took a lot of his ideas from Zelda. At the very least, he talked about them with her. So she actually had a lot to do with his creative output. When he wasn't with her, he was not creating at the same rate, and he wasn't writing stuff that was as good. Just keep in mind that the lone wolf thing is bullshit. There's no way to sit in a tower and make brilliance. So if you're stuck on an idea, go talk about it with somebody. Talk through it with a person. And if you're stuck with no idea, go help with somebody else's. Then you're still creating, you're still moving something forward. But you don't have to sit there and try to struggle through making your own thing. Connect with other people. It's the only way to really make good art, is connecting with other people. While we're talking about lone genius. Let's talk about number 3, which is throw away the idea of good. Is what I'm making good? If you look at the greatest classics of literature, you look at Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, that was originally published as a quote-unquote pop romance. That was contemporary romance at the time, just for people to read and have fun with. Everything by Kurt Vonnegut was published as just sci-fi. Alright, just sci-fi. All of these classics were originally just genre fiction that people might have snubbed or looked down on. The novel as a form, when it first came out hundreds of years ago, in Jane Austen's time, people would judge other people for reading novels. And now we recognize the brilliance of them. Jane and Kurt were not writing to be read in university classrooms, 400 years later. That's not what they were writing for. They were writing the books they wanted to read. They were writing the stories that they thought would be interesting, that they thought others would find interesting. So instead of asking yourself, is this good? Which is a nebulous, unattainable, abstract concept. Ask yourself, would I want to read this? Or if you make music, would I want to listen to this? Would you, a real person, actually enjoy consuming whatever the work is that you're creating? Stop trying to be good and just ask, do you like it? Do you like what you're making? Thing number 5, alright, you've heard a lot of advice, especially recently with the quarantine, about how if you're going to work from home, you really need to have your work from home space. You need a home office. That's because your brain, when you sit down at that home office, it goes, oh, okay, time to work. It's not time for Facebook, it's not time for Twitter. This is the spot where we work, and you need to separate it from the spot where you have fun. Well, you need the same thing for the spot where you create. So if you're a writer, a musician, a painter, whatever your form is, you need a spot in your house as much as you can where you can go and that signals to your brain, yes, now is the time to create. I like to call this your make space because it kind of sounds like it rhymes a little bit. If you need any help creating this make space, then we have a guide for you that will actually walk you through all the different things you can try, gives you a little kind of quiz-like thing to help you figure out what your perfect make space is. It can be a lot of different things. Some people need noise, some people don't. A lot of advice online is like, get rid of all distractions. But honestly, if I go to a room by myself with no noise and nothing around to look at, I fall asleep and I get nothing done. Sometimes people need a little bit of careful distraction. If you download our guide, we'll help you figure out what your perfect space is. But if you don't feel like downloading the guide, just experiment. Just try setting up different things until you really feel like you're into a flow. Did I say number 5 already? Because that was supposed to be 4. Anyway, this is the real number 5. Okay, next, let's just lay the whole suffering artist bit to bed. You can't really make great stuff if your head is and your heart is suffering. It saps your energy, it drains you, it gets into everything else. It makes it impossible or really, really hard to collaborate. If you were an athlete and your ankle broke, you would not be expecting yourself to perform at full capacity. So if your head is feeling sick, then why do you expect it to be able to perform at full capacity? You've got to handle the mental health side of things while you're creating. It's not going to stop you completely. I'm not saying that it's going to keep you. Obviously, you can still do things and make things if you really want, but it's one of the ways that you're holding yourself back by not addressing that side of yourself and making sure that that side is as healthy as possible. David Lynch calls it the suffocating rubber clown suit of depression, which sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I think it's a pretty good metaphor. It restricts your movement and it restricts your creativity. Again, not a health professional, so I'm not going to presume to give you advice in how to deal with that area. There's lots of really great people, cough, therapy, cough, that can help you. I just really want to remind everyone how important that is and how you gotta stop beating yourself up like, why have I not written my great novel? Well, you're real sad and you gotta handle that first, or whatever it is for you, before you go and write the next big thing. Okay, number 6, I know that I said before that some distractions are good, but we all know that some distractions are not helpful, such as going on Twitter for hours and hours and hours. I've done it. I do it. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to continue to try to tamp down that impulse for myself. So we're going to fight those distractions that are not helpful. One of the easiest ways to do it, turn Wi-Fi off on your computer. Put your phone in another room. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna give yourself time to work. Turn the Wi-Fi off, put your phone in another room, put a blanket over your parrot, your cat, your boyfriend, so that they think it's nighttime and they go to sleep. Put that blanket right over them. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you don't get taken out of your flow. In your make space, make sure that you are helping yourself avoid distractions. Whatever that means for you. Distractions are different for different people. Some people can't listen to anything at all. I need music to help me focus a lot of the time. It's whatever stops you from working. That's a distraction. A lot of times when I'm writing, I have to make it very clear to the people I'm around, don't talk to me, because human conversation will pull me out of it. That might not be true for everybody. It's all about what you need to get rid of in order to stay in your flow. Which brings me to number 7. As long as we are guarding this creative time preciously, we are getting rid of distractions, we've made a make space, we are guarding our precious time. Well, what is this time? You've got to schedule out creative time. If you're just expecting to have it pop up, it's not going to happen. That's why you schedule a dentist appointment. You schedule all these other things in your life. Your work has a schedule. It's because if you don't do that, you'll get distracted by other stuff. For the next 2 hours, for the next 10 minutes, for however long you can handle sitting there trying to do the thing. But you have to schedule that time. I'm not saying some people are like, I'm gonna get up every day at 6 in the morning, I'm gonna write for an hour. Can't do that. You're not getting me up at 6, and I can't do things the same exact time every day. That's just not how it's gonna work for me. Some people might be like, okay, today I'm going to write over lunch, or today after work I'm gonna write for 2 hours. You can either figure it out on a day-by-day basis and figure out, okay, how much time exactly can I fit in here, or get a schedule going. A lot of people have a much easier time if they have that routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I write for an hour. Saturdays, I write for 5. However much you can do it. But schedule the time. Put it on your phone. Type it down somewhere. Make sure other people know. I know Saturday you wanted to go here. I can't because I have my writing time. You have to schedule at that time, and you have to make sure other people know that that time is sacred, and do not schedule over it. Whether you're planning day by day or you have a week schedule, however you usually schedule, just fit it in with the way that you're currently organizing your life. If you don't have any type of organization or schedule at all, maybe think about one. If you want to start moving that creativity in, at least get that creativity written down on a calendar somewhere. Make sure you schedule that time. It's precious, it's important, and the people that you love in your life are going to understand how precious and important this is to you. And if they don't, tell them. Tell them how precious and important that time is. Make sure to guard it jealously. The other part of that I'm going to point out is this is not like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write if I get a great idea. I'm going to sit down and write a song if I already have an idea for a song. That's not what this time is. This time, no matter how inspired you feel, no matter whether you feel like you have an idea, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna do the thing. Even if it just means you just practice your chords for a little bit, or you just do some free writing, whatever it is, from 1 to 5 on Saturdays, your butt is parked in your make space or wherever it is that you're trying to create, and you are going to work on it. Even if you don't have an idea, this is not the time where we expect a great idea, 10 minutes today at lunch, whatever time you can fit, you're gonna sit down and make something. Doesn't have to be good. You gotta make a whole lot of crap before you can make anything good. But you need to have that time scheduled. It builds on itself. Creativity builds on itself over time. The more you make, the better you get, the more inspired you feel, the better stuff you make, the more you make. It keeps going like that. If you don't feel like it, if you schedule it out, that 10 minutes, that hour, that 2 hours, sit down and do it. It is precious. Even if you don't have an idea, look online, find an activity, something you can do, write a short story, write something you've never done before, etc. I will be releasing a video. It might already be released when you're watching this, about what to do if you have writer's block. Lots of good stuff in there. So make sure that you schedule that writing time and you always use it to write, even if you don't have a quote-unquote great idea, which remember, we're getting rid of the idea of having good or great ideas. So those are the 7 ways that you're probably sabotaging your creativity right now. If you have any other ideas or suggestions for people, I would love to hear them, so please go ahead and post those in the comments, like the video and subscribe. If you feel like you need even more help getting on track, we have the 21 Creativity Killers Guide. I sure hope it's over here. It also has an action plan so you can figure out how to defeat it. Not only identify these things that are stopping you, but also here's the exact plan that you're going to take in order to overcome them. Double, triple, quadruple your creative output. So click on the guide if you feel like you need more help. If you got suggestions for people, I'd love to hear them below in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's go make stuff.